Hey guys, and we're with
Chuck.
and Sherry. We are at Pymatuning State Park.
Tuttle Point Campground in Epiesville, PA.
We are here for the grand reopening ribbon cutting ceremony.
Yes. Special thanks to State Senator Michelle Brooks. This was her idea to bring this park back up to speed. They put $8 million into the project. And this park, honestly, is one of the best, we believe, on Pymatuning Lake right now.
It is beautiful here.
88 full hookup sites. They've done a great job with just restructuring this place. We do have a vlog that we've already put out, so if you guys go ahead and look for that on YouTube, you'll find it, and it gives a full review of what the park has to offer here. But special thanks to Dan Bickle for the invite, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. We're very honored to be here.
It's my pleasure to welcome you to the ribbon cutting ceremony for the reopening of the Tuttle Campground and Beach. Please join me as the VFW presents the colors. Today's ceremony highlights and is a reminder of one of our missions within DCNR to provide quality outdoor recreation experiences with facilities that are fully accessible and welcoming to all who visit our parks. And I think we can all be proud of this facility that we have here today that we're going to dedicate. I truly feel that we hit the target on this one, and now I believe we have one of the most modern and welcoming campgrounds in the Bureau of State Parks, so we can all be proud of that. We have a lot of thanks to give out for this beautiful campground today. With gratitude and appreciation, I'd like to thank the Department of General Services. I believe David Gibbs is here today as project manager. So there was a lot of folks from DGS that helped us on this project. I also like to recognize the design professionals, KCI Technologies. Paul McNamee is here to represent KCI today. Thanks, Paul. Perry Construction Group was a general contractor on the project. Dan Keen's representing and was the foreman on the project. Thank you, Dan. Penn Ohio Electric was our electrical contractor, Eric Williams. I'm not sure if Eric made it today. One thing that's interesting about Penn Ohio Electric, they were actually here on the first project for Tuttle, which I'll talk about a little bit of the history in a second, but they worked on it twice for us over the years. Did a great job for us. Our DCNR facility design and construction staff, Bureau Director, Facility Design and Construction, Alfred Uzakwe, Dan Kaufman, our regional engineer for facility design and construction is here as well. And then in the back is the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps crew. And these folks do great work if you've across our state parks and forest areas. And they were tasked with building us a fish cleaning station or building. I shouldn't actually call it a station, building here, and as part of the project. And if anybody knows anything about Pymatuning, you know that there's a lot of fish come out of this lake. So they did a great job, and we're fun to work with. So thank you, POC, for the great work you did on that. Well, to understand how we got here today, we got to talk a little bit about the history of Tuttle. The original Tuttle Campground project was a Project 70 bond initiative under Governor Milton J. Schaap and Secretary Maurice K. Goddard. The facility was dedicated on May 27, 1974. And it had great fanfare. I have the original brochure from that time, and they had a great parade that led for the opening of Tuttle back then. So the original campground had 251 campsites and 3 loops. There is one person here today that was at that dedication I'd like to recognize. Former regional manager and former park superintendent of Pymatuning, Bud Hetrick. Bud Hetrick was here. So thank you, Bud, for attending. Sitting alongside Bud is retired park manager here at Pymatuning, Pete Houghton. And both of these gentlemen moved our parks forward. And one thing I learned from Pete, and he have really improved these facilities, was the importance of adding handicap facilities, making sure all of our park facilities are accessible. Did a great job over the years, and we're happy to carry on that work that both Pete and Bud did. So thank you guys. One thing, so what led to where we're at today? State parks weren't immune from the economic downturn of September 11th and the housing crash in 2008. It's a very difficult time back then, budget-wise, if everybody remembers was around during that time. And the difficult but necessary decision was made to close park facilities that were expensive to operate. And Tuttle was. We had a failing water system back then. It would have been very expensive. Lake surface treatment water is very expensive, a lot of regulations to it. And even in development of this project, it was one of our biggest challenges, is finding a water source. We're surrounded on 3 sides here by water, but it was difficult to find producing wells. Fortunately, we had good engineers that found us water, and so we're open for business. So that's what happened. It was very difficult. Instead of closing entire state parks, we were able to accommodate all of our campers in the 2 remaining campgrounds that we had open. So it was closed, but not forever and not forgotten. And why? Well, because we have some really good community champions. We have our constituents, our visitors that miss Tuttle. They miss the wooded nature of this campground. They miss the family memories and the bonds that were here. And they talked to then State Representative Michelle Brooks. And Michelle Brooks, if you know Michelle Brooks, grew up, State Senator, now Brooks, grew up in Jamestown, knows the parks well in this area, knows what our visitors want, and understands what the impact happened to the economy of this area whenever the campground was closed, and tirelessly worked for 10 years to secure funding to get this campground reopened. So a lot of credit goes to Senator Brooks. So a little bit of the history. So once funding was secured, the project began on September 5th, 2021, was open to the public on April 12th, 2024. Post-COVID, a little challenge doing a project. I mentioned about finding water wells, that was a delay. I think one time we were waiting on some electrical circuits that were like 8 months out. So would have liked to have it open a little earlier, but working in that challenging environment. But I believe the end project is really great. And we hand out comment cards to the public. The reviews are off the charts. We're really getting a lot of good comments from people that leave the campground. So what do we have here now versus what we had in 1974? We have 112 total campsites in 2 loops, 90 full-service hookup sites that are pet-friendly. When we do visitor surveys across the state, the #1 requested site, and we look at our reservation systems, is a full hookup site that's pet-friendly. So we've delivered that product for what people want here in the campground, and we're seeing great use so far. Other things we're excited about that's coming online, we have a great gatherings, family and friends site. It's a different type of campsite. It's like a little group site with full hookups with a central fire ring area that people can gather together. That's coming online here on the 8th. So people have been asking a lot about that. If you look around you, we have a brand new boat launch, brand new fish cleaning station, modernized amphitheater. And one thing I know people have been catching a lot of fish off of, some folks I'm going to name here in a second, but we have a new ADA accessible boat fishing ramp down there, a fishing dock. We also fixed up Tuttle Beach. It was mostly renovated in-house by our DCNR staff. So I want to give a lot of credit to my staff here, Tom Woodworth, and he led that crew, and the rest of our maintenance staff did a fantastic job. They had to rebuild a pavilion, put in volleyball courts, playground equipment, lots of work down there at the beach. And a group I want to recognize too that helped us with that, Pymatuning Lake Association is here with us today, and we have a lot of members present. Thank you for attending. Lake Association has been helping us put playgrounds up throughout the park, so they completely funded the new one at Tuttle Beach. And they also provided funding to buy that Moby mat, which again, we want facilities accessible at all. And to be able to reach that beach, we needed that mat to get people down to the water, and they provided the funding for that. So I can't say enough about the Lake Association, what they've done for us. When you look out at the lake as a resource, fish habitat projects over the years, they've secured hundreds of thousands of dollars for shoreline work and erosion control. We know our visitor base here at Pymatuning, a lot of our visitors are coming here for the resource, for fishing, and they really help support that. So I'd like to thank the Lake Association today for helping us here in this Tuttle project as well. The project was so highly anticipated that, and we can tell the people in the office, we would sometimes get 20 or 30 calls a day. When's Tuttle opening? Is it ever when's Tuttle opening? And we would get a lot on social media. So We got a lot of, so it was nice to finally say, we are open. We were open April 12th, and we are open for good now. And we have some friends today that through the social media world trying to promote. And I want to mention Chuck and Sherry. They write a blog called En Route with Chuck and Sherry. And they really do a lot of great promotion in state parks in Pennsylvania, and they promote a lot of Ohio state parks. I don't know if Chris Rear is here today from the Ohio side. But oh, there he is. Chris, we're not trying to take away your visitor stuff over to this side. No, they camp a lot of parks. They highlight a lot of the great things and facilities that we have. So I just want to thank them for being with us today. And also, I know you caught some fish over there, and they're having a pretty good fish fry over at Site 203. He caught some fish off our new ramp. All right, so none of the infrastructure or conservation initiatives over the past 10 years of Pymatuning would happen without strong leadership at DCNR executive level. We've had a lot of projects here over the last 10 years, from repairing the dam to building a new marina, and we appreciate the leadership within DCNR. So it's my pleasure to introduce our Secretary, Cindy Adams-Dunn.
To follow someone who uses the same microphone. How did I do? That's kind of rare. I usually have to raise them up. It's just wonderful to be here. It's like my nerve synapses are just snapping with joy at everything I'm seeing here. From the great new campground to the boat launch to the staff to the happy citizens to the campers. It's just it's a great day. And generally we give credit for good weather to the park manager, but the park maintenance supervisor gets the credit for this one because he was working very hard to secure the site in the rain or in the sun, but he managed to clear it out and we got a good sunny day. I'd like to take a second to acknowledge all the staff of DCNR. People have different roles in DCNR, from maintenance to law enforcement, to management, to helping people, to assisting people. I can't ask the DCNR people to stand because everyone's standing. Let's just have a round of applause for the great public servants of DCNR. People ask me why I chose to be recycled and come back for another term under a new governor. And it's really the staff. I mean, I want to be here to support the staff of DCNR to then serve the public that they serve and to provide the space, the funding, the need they need to do the job to serve all of you. And that's the biggest honor a person can really have. I want to thank all of our partners in this project. DGS has been mentioned by Dan, great partner, our manager on this project. This Reggie McNeil, the secretary of DGS yesterday. It's the kind of project everyone just loves. And the civic partnerships in this area that Dan mentioned, the Lake Association, the Friends, everyone that makes this possible. A special mention about Senator Brooks. I got to know Senator Brooks early in my first term with Tom Wolf. And she's on the hot dial to DCNR because she really cares about this park. She articulated her story as a child and how she used the park. I mean, I could relate to it. We were both from families that didn't have the kind of resources to go down to Ocean City and stay in the condos and all that. Camp and state parks. That was the joy. That was the pleasure. That was the great memories of childhood. And we related to that importance together, fully understood it. In the full dimension of importance, Pymatuning with 3 million visitors is a big element of the economy in this whole region. The businesses, the outdoor-related businesses that we see around this lake and around this property. The reason people may choose to live here is to be near this lake, to be near Pymatuning State Park. All the economic factors are often undercounted, but a really important element of this park. And Michelle Brooks always understood that. And when Tuttle closed, and she was calling DCNR a lot about that, it was, these businesses are suffering. They're barely hanging on because they counted on Tuttle as part of the package to keep themselves viable year-round. That's something people don't often think of, but the small businesses around the park, they're serving local people. That's where you can pick up milk and eggs and bread on the way in from work. But the element that allows them to be there is often the park visitation for the season, and that makes it possible for these businesses to thrive. And so the park is an important element of the local economy. It's just so important that that we have that. So DCNR staff are coming off a busy couple of weeks. Governor Josh Shapiro has shown a strong interest in the state parks. He just launched a new brand for Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, the Great American Getaway. Understanding that with 72 million people within a 4-hour drive of Pennsylvania, we're a place where people come to get away. We have natural amenities, we have parks, we have forests, we have rivers, we have lakes. And it's an important part of our economy. It's an important part of our well-being. It's an important part of the mosaic of Pennsylvania, what it is, the pride of Pennsylvania. And in doing so, he camped, I think he's the first governor that we're all aware of that has camped in a state park. So he camped in several state parks, visited a whole string of state parks, and really shone a light on the importance of state parks. We were fortunate, in his first year, he awarded $112 million to DCNR for park and forest infrastructure. You know, Senator Brooks, Park Wentling, Brad Rowe, our legislative body in Pennsylvania, in a bipartisan way, supported this. So that DCNR has some money to rebuild places, to redo projects. This project had been underway by that time, but there are projects, big and small, across the state that we're able to say yes to, able to bring back this infusion of park and forest infrastructure dollars. And in this year's budget, the governor's proposing $8.5 million for us to add trails to the system, and $5 million to grow the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps program. And you'll meet the young people. I hope as people hang around here, you'll meet the Outdoor Corps crew. You'll see them in the special T-shirts. But we have to think about not only the infrastructure, we have to think about the people. You know, the next future manager of Pymatuning State Park could be standing there in that crew, they're the Meadville crew, getting young people working in the public lands and familiar with the careers, really important. So the human side just as important as the infrastructure side, and we try to pay attention to that in DCNR. And you know, as Dan Bickle mentioned, the ADA facilities. We look at parks and forests. We serve all Pennsylvanians, 13 million Pennsylvanians, and generations yet to come. So we look at the diversity of our citizens that we're serving, and we're making just about everything ADA that we can, because we all have a life cycle. Some of that cycle might be on wheels. The beginning and the end is often on wheels for people. So you've got to have facilities that people can use and really access the beautiful natural amenities that we all appreciate and take for granted while you've got mobility, but you've got to have that ability to enjoy it, full life cycle. So you'll see ADA campsites, ADA restroom facilities, ADA as much as we can make it everywhere that we can. We aim to really exceed requirements on that. Again, these things don't happen without a strong civic partnership, without a strong government partnership in the agency, without strong relationships with our legislators and our senator. And it's my job to turn the podium over to Michelle Brooks. And just one more comment about her. Senator Brooks and our representatives make a god-awful long drive to Harrisburg. Every time I come up here, last night as we were coming up on 80, trucks, it's dangerous. You're passing trucks are passing you. There's traffic jams. It's like, I'm sure they wonder why they do this. I mean, it's, despite what you read in the paper, it's not for the pay. It takes vision to be that committed to make that trip. And I got to tell you, Senator Brooks, we're glad she makes that trip. So with that, I'll turn it over to Senator Michelle Brooks.
I wish I had that height. I'm truly grateful that Secretary Dunn and John Norbeck took my calls. It's been a long time in the making, and they were there the whole way. And I'm just so grateful for the two of them, because they actually are also the ones that carried the story of Tuttle Point in Harrisburg. Without their approval, we wouldn't be standing here today. So if we could give them a round of applause. And, Pennsylvania is a large state, and John and Secretary Dunn, they're everywhere. And they truly, truly have a passion for Pennsylvania's outdoors and the state parks. And I'm so grateful that we do have a secretary that it's not just a cabinet position, it's truly, truly a passion, a labor of love for Secretary Dunn. Everything that she does for Pennsylvania, her heart is in it, and I am very grateful for that. We don't always see that. And then, Dan, I want to thank you for taking my calls also. I'm like, are we almost there? Are we almost there? Are we almost there? And we're like, oh, this is delayed, this is delayed. But we're here. And Mr. Hetrick, Dan had mentioned you. You know, I grew up with your kids in this park. We loved it. It was our playground. And then you fast forward to the Houghtons and Donna and Pete, and my kids grew up with your kids. And my kids and your kids, we still love the park. And here we are today. And it's just my hope that not only today's families, but their kids, their grandkids, and their great-grandkids learn to love this park as much as all of us do, and that those memories continue. Dan and I were here the first day that the park opened, and my goodness, the first camper through, what did he say, Dan? Oh, I came here as a kid. Those are the memories, and that's why we're standing here. And it's taken a lot of people to get here, and so thank you, and thank you to all the park staff. Diane's here today. Although she's retired and enjoying 6 grandkids, I wanted her to be here, and she wanted to be here because she started this journey all those years ago back in Pete's office in 2009 when we had the conversation about the park closing. And then there's Eloise and Jeff Daniels, who's no longer with us. And I made a commitment to them that I would do everything I could possibly do. I didn't think it would take quite this long, Eloise, but I don't think I needed glasses back then and so many other things. But, you know, thank you. And thank you to the township supervisors for investing in this area. Because without your stewardship in trying to have the upgrades to the plants and the area, you know, we wouldn't be here today either. And, you know, Dan, you came a little bit further down the way, but Dan's also been a big advocate for opening this campground. So there's just so many people that have made this possible. And DGS, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Rob Carr. He's no longer with DGS, but he played an important role. But DGS, thank you also for this, because without DGS allocating the funds also and moving them along, we wouldn't be here either. So with that, I'm just so grateful. You know, as we were pulling in, Diane was like, just think, Michelle, when the family's coming in the camper and the grandparents or the parents are saying, we're almost there, kids, we're almost there. Isn't this beautiful? Aren't you excited? And I can just remember, and I'm just so grateful for everyone that made this possible to have those memories for future generations. Thank you so much.
I asked Dan if I can introduce the next speaker, our Deputy Secretary for Parks and Enforcement, John Norbeck. And the reason is I want to talk about life as a government leader involves hard decisions and great decisions. John was the park manager when we had to close Tuttle and make a hard decision based on finance, based on the issues that Dan raised about water, at a time of a great recession that took years to come back from. And in his mind, when he came back as deputy, it was always on his mind to go back and remedy that and take care of that. John's a person at DCNR that manages infrastructure. He's got huge lists of needs in parks and forestry, and he's got money coming in, sometimes in dribs and drabs and sometimes in big buckets. So John is our leader in terms of decision making on the ground, on what gets done and what doesn't get done, and strong advocate for Tuttle, something he brought into the office frequently with him and John Howlis, our park director from across the system. So that, John Norbeck, our Deputy of Parks and Forestry and our Deputy of the Money.
Thank you, Secretary Dunn. If anyone out there is a baseball fan, you know what I'm going to say is it's really hard to be the cleanup hitter when the three power hitters on your team speak before you. But I'm going to touch on a couple of things that folks already talked about because I think it's really important. And I want to thank Secretary Dunn for the very, very kind words. But I also want to thank Senator Brooks. And we worked a lot together when I was a state park director, and she was a representative. I left Commonwealth employment, came back a few years later as the deputy secretary, and then Senator Brooks, it was like the second day I was in my office, I was just trying to figure out where stuff was, and the phone rings and it's Senator Brooks saying, "What about Tuttle?" I was like, honestly, I never forgotten about Tuttle. But she helped bring it up, and she really helped push it along and working through government. As she noted, it takes a long time to do stuff. It takes longer. I've been working in public service for well over 40 years, and you never get used to it. But it takes a long time to get stuff done. A lot of times, it's stuff that's worth doing. So you just keep tilting at that windmill and making things happen. And Senator Brooks certainly helped us do that. Secretary also mentioned the Pennsylvania Outdoor Corps. And I have to mention them because they're in my deputate, but really they're in my heart. The Outdoor Corps is they're our future, right? So, and as part of the Corps, they learned about conservation. So they're our next generation of conservationists. But they've really learned about how to work, right? Good work ethics, showing up on time, and saying hello, saying yes or no, sir. How to do an interview. All those things that folks generally don't get anymore, but they're getting in the Outdoor Corps. And we've been able to actually hire 53-ish, maybe a little bit more than, I'm looking at Emily Bortz back there. Does that sound about right? About 53 folks out of the Outdoor Corps, because we've seen the great work that they can do and the great work that they'll do in the future. And as the Secretary said, one day, one of them will be Secretary of the Department, which is pretty cool. Secretary also talked about infrastructure. Infrastructure, folks, when they think about state parks and state forests, we have 124 state parks, 2.2 million acres of state forest lands, but you generally don't think about infrastructure. You just think about stuff is always there, right? We have 12,000 miles of trails in Pennsylvania. Over 6,000 campsites in state parks alone. Sewage treatment plants. I'll bore you with numbers here, but it's important because it's a big system. We have 178 water treatment plants, 78 sewage treatment plants, 35,000 or 3,500 miles of roads. You could drive to California on our roads if they were straightened out. And there's a whole lot of other things that goes into that infrastructure, the water systems, water lines, electric lines, all that kind of stuff. So when you get all the infrastructure together that DCNR is responsible for, it's about $5 billion worth of infrastructure. If we had to replace it, it'd be about $5 billion. Well, we need to keep that going because it's a great investment in Pennsylvania. The Secretary talked about the economy. So the outdoor recreation economy in Pennsylvania is about a $17 billion industry. And it is an industry, right? So it's everything from the mom and pop stores that supply food and maybe some gear to campers or anglers or hunters, to bed and breakfasts and sporting goods stores like Dick's and those larger sporting goods stores. So it's a big industry. And in order to support that industry, which supports a lot of folks in Pennsylvania, to make a great livelihood, you need a good forest and park or an outdoor infrastructure. And that's what we've been able to do with the administration. The Secretary also mentioned Governor Shapiro, his first year, he put $112 million into our parks and forest infrastructure. That's more than double that what we would generally get in the very first year. And the legislators appropriated that. They thought that was a good investment in Pennsylvania. So it really is a team effort, and it kind of refer back to my comment about baseball. It all is about a team effort. The folks in state parks, and I'll mention them again. Jeremy Reckick, the regional manager, doing an awesome job. Region 2, which is the western part of the region, has some of the most fantastic parks, well-run parks in the system. We got Dan, of course, and Sean and Stacy do a great job of running Pymatuning. I will harken back a little bit to when Pete was the manager here and I was the state park director, and we had to make those really hard decisions on not having enough infrastructure money to keep the entire system running. Is what can we call out? What's going to cost too much money? And frankly, the Tuttle Campground, the water system, as noted, was bad. We just didn't have the money to fix it. But through perseverance of people like Senator Brooks and Secretary Dunn and myself and the regional folks in state parks, we were able to keep that vision alive and bring it back. And I've been in a lot of our state park campgrounds over the last couple of years, and I can tell you this is like one of the best ones I've actually seen. It's like, this is freaking awesome. If I had a camper, I would come back and, can I do full service hookups in the tent? Okay, all right. Really great facility. Really excited about it. The working with DGS has been very good. And lastly, I'll mention our folks in facility design and construction. So we have a bureau within the department that is really responsible for all of our big infrastructure projects. And they're like the unsung heroes, right? They come in, they're like a construction company, if you will, general contractor. They come in, they design projects, they help prioritize projects and get stuff done. So Dan Kaufman's in the back, he's the regional director for facility design and construction in the Western region. Thank you, Dan. You guys do great work, and working with that DGS, Department of General Services, you brought a great project together. So again, I thank folks for coming out, and I thank everybody that's had a hand in it. I'll turn it back over to Dan.
Next up, I'd like to have Representative Brad Rowe come up to give a couple comments. Thank you. Oh yeah, go on up there.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is great to be here, and it's just such a beautiful facility. We are so blessed in our corner of the state. We have beautiful, beautiful state parks, such as Oil Creek State Park by Titusville, Presque Isle and Erie, here at Pymatuning. We have just beautiful scenery all over Crawford County, and then very close to where all of us live locally here, we have beautiful state parks that we can enjoy. Now, I want to be very clear about something. When I was first elected, I was elected the same day that Michelle was elected. Michelle has been representing the western side of Crawford County ever since the day we got elected. My district was eastern Crawford County when I first got elected, and part of central Crawford County. So I just want to make it clear that Senator Brooks has been a tireless advocate to get this done. And then several years later, Park Wentling got elected to represent the west side of the county. I've only represented this side of the county for the last year and a half. So this was pretty much a done deal by the time I picked this up as part of my district after the last census. So I would just like to thank Senator Brooks and Representative Wentling and everyone, with DCNR and with the park here, just everybody. It's just a beautiful facility, and I feel very fortunate that I have such a beautiful facility that's part of my legislative district. And now I'll let Representative Wentling say a few words.
Thank you very much, Brad. And I just want to start off by saying it was an honor for 8 years to be able to serve you here in Western Crawford County. And as a child, I came here camping with my family, and I got a little hint of my childhood just a little bit earlier when I smelled some campfire. So it brought back some great memories of being here at Tuttle. But I just want to come up here and just specifically thank Senator Brooks and Secretary Dunn. specifically for the work you've done here to bring Tuttle back. And I also want to thank very specifically too Dan Bickle, what he's done here at not just for Tuttle, but at Pymatuning State Park, and all the work that he's done beyond that with our trails that he's been working so hard on through the spillway and other areas. And just thank you so much for that, Dan. And you know, all of this wouldn't be without you, the folks that we're honored to serve. So thank you for what you have all done too, the township supervisors and the community at large and the Corps and everyone else. So thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
North Shenango Township's been a great partner to the park over the many years here, and I'd like to invite Eloise to come forward and say a few comments.
Good morning, everyone. Unlike all of you, I have been coming here camping in the late 70s and 80s with my family. Every weekend we would ask our children, where do you want to go? Every time the response was Tuttle Point, Tuttle Point. We spent so much time here that we bought some land in a camp, half a mile up the road from Tuttle Point. And when we retired, we bought a house, half a mile up the road from Tuttle Point. When our grandchildren would come and spend summers and holidays with us, we would always ask them, do you want to go to Conneaut Lake? No, we want to come to Tuttle Point. I packed up the cooler, spend the time at the beach, and we absolutely loved it. As a supervisor, whenever we were told that Tuttle was closing, I was devastated. It almost seemed personal to me that at that time Representative Brooks promised me that she would do everything in her power to open up this facility again. And Michelle kept her promise. We have gone full circle. So I give a big thanks to Senator Brooks, Dan Bickle, and everyone involved in giving us back our new and improved Tuttle Point. Thank you and enjoy.
Thank you, Eloise. I'd like to thank the Jamestown VFW for being here today, and please stand as we retire the colors.
Okay, so that was very interesting.
That was so awesome.
It was just seeing all the people it took to come together to put the park together.
Make this happen.
Yeah, all the vendors, all the businesses, just the ideas, the delays, just a lot of stuff that went into this day.
Yeah,
So,
it was very special. It was kind of like a teary moment.
but yeah, we appreciate them. We appreciate the invite and hope
Yeah.
you guys enjoyed.